Namaste friends, and welcome back to The Way Om Yoga. My name is Sarah Baca and I'm going to be your instructor for this sequence. So today I wanted to come up with a special yoga class for you. So this is yoga for nurses, or really anyone that works in healthcare or anyone that's working, long shifts, standing for extended periods of time. Even if you sit at a desk most of your day, I feel like a lot of us can benefit from this sequence, especially because it's going to target the legs, the hips. We're going to even get into the feet a little bit here as well. So if that sounds appealing to you, I want you to grab the following props. So a set of yoga blocks would be beneficial for this class. If you don't have them, don't worry, you can still participate in this class, but I do recommend it for a handful of poses if you have them. Another thing that I want you to have as well is an empty wall space. So if you need to pause this video at any point and just clear out your space so that you have that, go ahead and set that up now. If you don't have that space, or if simply resting your legs on the wall is not accessible for you, you could always grab a chair, or if you're doing this in your living room, you can always use the seat of like a sofa cushion. That'll be helpful as well, so you can still get inverted passively, okay? So go ahead and pause this video if you need to and come back when you're ready. So let's go ahead and get started, my friends. So like I said, we're going to be targeting the legs in this class, and I find that for myself, as a registered nurse working at the bedside, I'm spending many hours on my feet. And sometimes it's just nice to start off my yoga practice a little bit more passive. So I'm going to have you guys come up to the edge of your mat here. So bringing your mat up to this wall space. And then what I like to do is just inch up as closely as I can. And of course, friends, if placing your legs up against a wall is, again, not accessible for you, you can simply just bring a chair close enough to your mat, and see how I'm bending my knees here. And then you're simply going to just rest the backs of your legs on a seat of a chair or a couch, whatever you have available to you. But for my friends using the wall space, let's go ahead and make our way there now. So we are just simply getting inverted passively. So again, for many of us, just sitting upright for extended periods of time, this is just a nice way to reverse the blood flow, to help assist with lymphatic drainage, especially if the feet are feeling a little swollen and tender from being on them all day. This is just a wonderful way to start off your practice. I like to use this as my anchoring moment, my meditation, if you will, just to get a sense of where I'm at energetically. And you could close your eyes if that feels comfortable for you, and just simply enjoy starting out on your back. We never do this in yoga. And just steadying your breath. Maybe this is the first time today that you've noticed just the natural rhythm, the natural cadence, that inhale and exhale. And if you want to set an intention here for your practice, friends, or maybe have a mantra, you can go ahead and set that intention now. And then from here, friends, we're going to add on just a little bit. So if you like where you are, feel free to stay. Again, for my yogis that are using the chair, you can still use the chair and just rest the backs of your legs on the seat of a chair. But we're going to take this just one step further if you'd like to. So we're going to take this in sort of like a malasana yogi squat at the wall. So notice that I'm flexing through my feet here, and I'm just walking my feet down just a few inches here. Now I'm getting into my hips. So imagine like if I was sitting upright, right, and taking my garland pose, malasana, yogi squat, but instead we're going to take it here at the wall. So you could press your feet against the wall for support, and just notice how that draws the tailbone down, how you're getting into the inner thighs, the outer hips, and again, just in a way that's passive, Not too much, not too intrusive, just right. And again, if this doesn't feel good for any reason, you can simply just rest your legs just straight up the wall. You can continue to use your chair if you're using the chair for support. And again, just focusing on nice, steady, even inhales and exhales. And again, just getting a touch here for the hips before we move on. All right, friends, and then from here, we'll start to deepen our breath on our next inhale through the nose. Exhale, let that go. And as you're ready, nice and carefully, since we were just inverted, we're just gonna hug the knees in towards our chest. If you need to rock a little side to side, you're welcome to do that. And then I want you to carefully roll onto either side of your body, right or left, it really doesn't matter. And then taking your time to press yourselves back up to seated. And let's see here, I'm gonna move my yoga mat towards the middle. So if you need to step away from your wall space, you're welcome to readjust here, friends. And then we're gonna come into child's pose as you're ready. So if you need a reminder of what that looks like, you can look up here. So big toes come to touch. They could be a little bit apart if they need to be. And then we're simply going to bring the knees apart and then start to extend through the forearms, resting the forehead on the mat. And you do have your yoga blocks, so for whatever reason, if the floor is just a little too far away, you can use that block for additional support. But go ahead and make your way into child's pose now. Again, getting a nice stretch here for the inner thigh, the outer hip. We're even getting into the feet and in the spinal column as well. And just nice steady breaths. So in addition to teaching yoga, I am also a registered nurse. I work in a neonatal intensive care unit, otherwise known as the NICU. I love my job. I love what I do. I'm so fulfilled by what I do. So it's good to have practices like these just to help one decompress. And then from here, friends, let's go ahead and make our way to seated. Now we're gonna get a little touch for the feet. So have your yoga block nearby just in case. But what I'm gonna have you do, friends, is come into what's called thunderbolt pose. So just like I am right now, I'm gonna be kneeling here, but then I'm gonna tuck my back toes under. So you may need to like manually kind of assist your pinky toe here just to make this stretch happen. So we're getting obviously into the feet here with this one. So I understand that this might be a little bit much. So you have that yoga block, and if you just need to slide a block or maybe a folded blanket or pillow if this is too much again, just something for support here for your knees so you can sustain and just get the benefit of that stretch. But I'm gonna set my block off to the side. I feel the stretch a little bit more when I have my knees all the way down on the mat, but just know that that's an option for you. And again, we won't be here long. We're just getting into that plantar fascia in the feet. Getting a nice stretch here. And just steadying the breath once again. If you need to move a little bit, you're welcome to find just like a little sway, only if that feels comfortable. Beautiful. And so we won't be here long, so go ahead and set your props off to the side, and we're gonna make our way into downward facing dog. First downward facing dog of the class, just any degree of movement, anything that you find appropriate here, go for it. If you need to pedal out your feet, walk your dog out. If you need to walk your stance just a little bit closer, And again, your feet, or rather your heels, don't need to be all the way down on the mat. You can simply bend your knees and lift the heels off the mat. It's just our first downward facing dog. Beautiful. And then from here, friends, we're just gonna flow through a few rounds of sun salutation. So on your next inhalation, let's go ahead and glance forward at the space in between your hands. You can walk or lightly hop to stand, or to forward fold rather. Good, inhale, halfway lift. Exhale, fold you forward. Inhale, let's sweep those arms up towards the ceiling. And then exhale, hands come together in front of your heart center. From here, we're going to add on. So on your next inhalation, we'll sweep both arms up towards the ceiling. Exhale, let's hinge forward into forward fold. Inhale, halfway lift. This time as you exhale, let's go ahead and start with the right foot to begin. We're gonna come into a lunging salutation. And I always love to start off my classes in lunging sun salutation because my hamstrings are always tight. So I think that's why I always go for that one first. And of course, you can always keep your fingertips on the mat, maybe a set of blocks for support. But if you're with me, let's go ahead and reach up through the fingertips if you're not there already. On your next inhalation, let's go ahead and bring the fingertips down onto either side of that foot. And then as you exhale, let's come back into half split, half Hanuman. Again, getting into the back of the leg, getting into the hamstring. And then notice here, friends, that I have just like a slight micro bend in my knee. So no need to lock out that joint. Just a nice soft bend is more than appropriate. You're still gonna get the benefit of the stretch. Inhale, let's come forward once again. Exhale, we'll sink it back. Inhale, come forward. Exhale, draws your hips back. Last time, inhale. Exhale, let's make our way into downward facing dog. So we'll skip the vinyasa this time. I don't wanna tucker you out too much. I want us just to warm up just enough so that we can enjoy some stretching here. On your next inhalation, right leg comes up and back towards the ceiling. Exhale, we'll step the right foot forward in between the hands once again. If you need to grab your blocks and have them on either side of that foot for support, maybe to the top of that thigh. But if you're ready, let's go ahead and reach up through the fingertips, coming into a lunge. Beautiful. Coming back to your breath. Getting into the hamstring, getting into the psoas, the front of the hip here, the hip flexors, all those areas that can get really tight on us from standing for extended periods of time. On your next inhalation, both fingertips come down onto either side of the foot. Exhale, let's meet in half Hanuman again with that soft bend in that knee. Inhale, we'll come forward. Exhale, sink it back. Inhale, come forward. Exhale, draw it back. One more time, inhale, come forward. Exhale, draw it back into half splits. Inhale, let's come back into the lunge. Exhale, we'll meet in downward facing dog. Again, pedaling out the feet as needed. Beautiful. Readjust, recalibrate, friends. So from here, on your next inhalation, let's glance at the space in between our hands. And again, you can walk, lightly hop into forward fold. Inhale, halfway lift. Exhale, forward fold. Inhale, let's reach up to standing. Exhale, hands come together at heart center. This time we'll take sun salutation B. So we'll sink back on your next inhale into chair pose, Utkatasana. Exhale, forward fold. Inhale, halfway lift. This time as you exhale, we're gonna meet in downward facing dog. If you wanna jump through chaturanga, you're welcome to do that as well. It's gonna look like this. But otherwise, let's meet in downward facing. And then from downward facing dog all together, let's take that vinyasa. Inhale, we'll hinge forward, coming through plank. Exhale, chaturanga, all the way onto your belly. Inhale, it's cobra pose. Exhale, we'll meet back in downward facing dog. So I'm gonna press up through hands and knees for this one before I come back into Adho Mukha Svanasana, downward facing dog. Once again, coming back to your breath. Beautiful. On your next inhale, right leg comes up and back. Exhale, we'll step the right foot forward in between the hands. We're gonna come up through warrior one just to start. So both hip points are facing forward. I'm reaching down through the outer edge of my left foot as I bring my fingertips up towards the ceiling. Good. We'll stay here for an inhale and exhale. Once again, inhale. Exhale, let's make our way back into downward facing dog. And again, you can move about as needed before we get the other side. Just nice and easy movements here, friends. On your next inhale, left leg comes up and back. Exhale, we'll step the left foot forward in between the hands, root to rise up through warrior one. So again, I'm bending through that left knee. Both frontal hip points are facing forward, and I'm reaching through the outer edge of my right foot. Good, we'll stay here for an inhale. And exhale. Once again, inhale. Exhale, let's make our way back. Downward facing dog. Good. On your next inhale, glance forward at the space in between your hands, friends. And then as you exhale, let's meet at the front of the mat. Inhale, halfway lift. Exhale, forward fold. Inhale, sink it back into chair pose. So just finishing up this round of sun salutation. Exhale, hands draw together in front of your heart center. So we're gonna add on from here. So rather than taking you through that whole sequence again, we're just gonna come into warrior two. So again, I wanted to get into the legs, but I wanted to warm you up just a little bit so we can enjoy some stretching here in just a moment. So warrior two, I'm gonna start with my right foot forward. I have my back foot at about a 90-degree angle here. And then on my next inhalation, I'm gonna bend my right knee. Now this time, both frontal hip points are gonna be facing towards the left wall as I open up here for warrior two. We'll hold here for an inhale and exhale. Now on your next inhalation, we're gonna come forward. So I'm gonna be facing the camera here, so facing the left wall. So notice that my toes are pointed out just slightly. We're gonna sink down into goddess pose. So you have some options with your hands here. You can place the hands on the tops of the thighs for support. You could interlace your fingers and just reach those arms up towards the ceiling, just getting into the stretch a little bit more. But I want us to create just a little bit of heat, a little bit of warmth. You can even like rock side to side a little bit. That's typically what I like to do. And again, we won't be here very long. Just a little bit of heat, just a little bit of movement in the hips and in the legs. Now from here, friends, I'm gonna turn my toes so that my toes are facing forward, the feet are parallel. And this is where the yoga blocks can come in handy for you. So you could either use one or you could place one underneath each hand. But in just a moment here, we're gonna hinge forward from the waist, coming into a wide-legged stretch, otherwise known as prasarita. So from here, you can take your hands to blocks or not, it's up to you. You can even take your hands to the outer ankles as well for support. But again, we're gonna hinge forward, allowing the crown of the head to come down towards the mat as we get into the backs of the legs, as we get into the hamstrings here, once again. And this is a really great one, especially in these hot summer months. This has a very cooling, pacifying effect on the body anytime we get the head below the heart center. Now from here, friends, on your next inhalation, let's go ahead and take a halfway lift here, with or without the blocks. Exhale, we'll come back into the fold. Inhale, we'll look up, halfway lift. Gaze is just slightly down and ahead. Exhale, let's come back into the fold. One more time, inhale. Exhale, we'll come back into forward fold. So we'll set our blocks off to the side here. So on your next inhalation, let's go ahead and come up to standing. And And then we're just gonna take this on the left side. So again, skipping the vinyasa. On your next inhalation, let's come into warrior two, this time with the left knee bent. We'll hold here for an inhale. And exhale. Once more, inhale. And exhale. Good. On your next inhalation, let's come back into goddess pose. So toes are turned out just slightly here. And again, you could place your hands onto the tops of the thighs, tops of the knees. You could sway a little side to side. And again, just the idea is just to get into those hips a little bit, getting also into the legs. Good. And then once again, on our next inhalation, let's come out of goddess pose. We'll turn the toes so that they're parallel with one another. And again, we're gonna come back into prasarita, so wide-legged stretch. So on your next inhalation, we'll hinge forward from the waist. Exhale, we'll start to come forward into the pose. Now, from here, friends, we're gonna add on. So you can do this with or without the block. So I'm gonna do this without the block because my arms are just so long. I don't need that extra cushion, but from here, we're gonna place the left palm down, just straight down the center here. And then I'm gonna open up through the right side body. So I'm gonna extend my right hand up towards the ceiling, getting a nice gentle twist here in my wide-legged stretch. Good, we'll stay for an inhale. Exhale, place the right hand down. And then we'll take the opposite side. So this time, left hand comes up on an inhale. Exhale, we'll start to settle in here. Good. Inhale. Exhale, set the left hand down. Inhale, let's bring that right hand up. Exhale, set it down. Inhale once again, left hand comes up. Exhale, set it down. And how about just for good measure, let's take one halfway lift, so both hands. Inhale, we'll get long through the spine. And then exhale, we'll come back into the stretch. We're gonna do that sequence one more time, friends. So on your next inhalation, we'll root to rise up. You could place the hands on the waist until you're upright. And then once again, let's come back into one more warrior two here. We'll hold for a few rounds of breath as you inhale. And exhale. Once again, inhale. And exhale. We'll face forward once again, coming into goddess pose. So another option that you could take, you can take your right arm out in front of you and then catch it with the left elbow here for support, so getting into the upper body. Or if you have the full wrap and bind, you can come into eagle pose in your goddess pose here. So again, I like to move around just a little bit in my goddess pose. But again, just take whatever variation makes sense for you. Once again, as you inhale, let's go ahead and come up. We'll turn the toes so that they're parallel with each other. And then we'll hinge forward once again, coming into prasarita, wide-legged stretch. Good, so any of those options, friends, if you wanted to just come into it halfway lift, maybe if you want to take some twist, I want to give you this time just to take whatever option feels comfortable for you, or simply just to stay put and enjoy the stretch here, which is what I'm about to do. So any degree of movement here. So whatever option you're taking, go ahead and make this your last round. We'll meet here in the fold. And once again, on an inhale, we'll root to rise up. And if you need to scoot your feet in just a little bit to assist you. All right, we got one more side. So from here, let's come into warrior two. Once again, this time with the left knee bent. And we'll hold here on your next inhale. And exhale. Once again, inhale. And exhale. On your next inhalation, let's come into goddess pose, facing forward. So this time, left arm will come out in front of you across the body, and we'll hook and bind here with that right elbow. Otherwise, you could take eagle arms in the arms, so targeting the upper back as well. You might find yourself sinking just a little bit deeper this time in goddess pose. We are definitely warmed up. And then we'll hold here for one more inhale. And exhale. On your next inhalation, let's go ahead and let that go. Toes are facing forward, parallel with each other. Let's come one more time, one last time, into our wide-legged stretch here. And again, any options here, friends, if you want to grab onto the outsides of your ankles, helping to facilitate a deeper stretch. If you like taking those twists, you can take that. Whatever option works for you. And again, the idea is that we're getting into the hamstrings, the backs of the legs, even the inner thighs here are getting a touch. And then once again, make this your last round. Whatever you decided to take, we'll meet in forward fold here. And then once again, if you need to scoot in your feet just a touch, a few inches before you rise up, let's go ahead and rise up nice and tall. And then just to exit out, let's go ahead and come back into Warrior Two. We'll windmill the arms down. Yogi's choice. If you want to get a round of vinyasa, I'm going to go for it. Otherwise, just meet us in downward facing dog. And then once you've made your way into down dog, let's take one more child's pose here, shall we? So coming back to your breath, if you need to get a sip of water, wipe off some sweat, whatever you need to do to come back to your breath and just recalibrate here, go ahead and do that. All right. And you can stay as long as you need to, friends, but we're gonna make our way into just some stretches and our cool down phase of class. So for our first pose, we're gonna come into bound angle pose, Baddha Konasana. So soles of the feet come together, knees come apart, and all we're gonna do is just simply hinge forward, just enjoying this stretch here, getting once again into the hips, specifically the inner thighs, the outer hips. Again, just letting go of any stress, of any tension held there. And we'll start to steady our breath here on our next inhale. And exhale. And then from here, friends, on your next inhalation, we'll start to deepen the breath. Exhale, let that go. On your next in-breath, we'll go ahead and sit up. Beautiful. From here, let's go ahead and take the feet out in front of us, about a little wider than hip distance apart. I'm gonna rest back here on my hands, on the backs of my palms, and then I'm gonna just take windshield wipers in the legs here just for a moment. Getting a nice counter pose before we move on. All right. So from here, friends, let's make our way into straddle pose next. So I'm gonna face like the long way here, the longer edge of my mat, just for some extra support, some extra padding for my ankles. And then from here, well, I'm just bringing the legs out just as wide as they'll go. Again, you don't want to create, any undue stress or tension here to make this happen, but just as far as the body will allow. And then once again, we're going to hinge forward from the waist. So if you want to bring a block along with you to help facilitate the stretch, just kind of like a perch for your forehead, you can go ahead and place that out in front of you. And then another thing to notice as well, especially if the knees are a little bit tender, I like to flex my feet or point my feet just to activate the muscles surrounding the knee joint before I come forward. So if that's you, go ahead and activate your feet here, activate those muscles, and then we'll go ahead and just start to come forward into straddle pose. And just settling in here on your next inhalation. And remember, friends, feel free to adjust as needed. If you need to readjust your pose in any way, if you need to come out of it a little bit, if you've gone too far, feel free to readjust. All right, friends, we've got one more inhale here. And exhale. Nice and carefully on your next inhalation, we'll come up onto fingertips, setting our props off to the side. And then nice and carefully, if you need to, you can use your hands to assist you, but we're gonna bring the legs back together. And again, we'll just take one more round of those windshield wipers, just taking the knees side to side, nice and easy. Going slow, especially if we're feeling a little tighter in the hips. All right, so we're gonna prepare next for pigeon pose. So I'm gonna show you how to approach this from your back first. So if sitting upright in pigeon is just too demanding on the knees, I'm gonna show you another way you can get into it. So starting from your back, so supine, we'll come to the back of the mat here. And then all I'm gonna do is take my hair out here for just a second so you can see. I'm gonna bend both knees, and then I'm gonna stack my right ankle over the left thigh. And then from here, I'm gonna start to draw my knees in towards my chest. I like to interlace my fingers behind that left thigh for support. And again, notice that I'm flexing, or you can point through the feet, again, just to protect that knee joint. So that's one way that you can approach pigeon pose. Otherwise, I like to start from downward facing dog. And then from down dog, I like to bring my right leg up and back. And then as I exhale, I'm gonna draw my knee in towards my chest, placing that knee just to the back of my right wrist here. Again, finding a little bit of a flex here through that right foot. Both hip points are facing forward. I'm resting on the top of my left foot for support. I'm up on fingertips. And if some of you want to go ahead and hinge forward, you can come forward and rest in your pigeon. So again, you have some options. You can approach pigeon pose from your back. You'll still get the same benefit of that hip opening without too much demand on the knees. Otherwise, you're here with me. And again, we'll just steady our breath on our next inhale. And exhale.
We'll just stay here for a few more rounds, friends, getting into the hips. All right. So from here, if you are on your back, go ahead and just go ahead and unwind your legs here. Take both knees in towards your chest, and you can rock side to side if you're on your back. Otherwise, let's meet back in downward facing dog. So nice and carefully, we'll come up, upright here in pigeon pose, making our way into downward facing dog. And for my yogis in downward facing dog, if you want to get a counter pose in from down dog, go ahead and bring your right leg up and back. Exhale, we'll bend the right knee, taking down dog with a twist. Beautiful. We've got one more side. So for my friends approaching pigeon pose, this time you'll be lying on your back, and then you're going to cross your left ankle over across the right thigh, drawing both knees in towards your chest. And again, you have that option to flex the feet here or point the feet, whatever you prefer. Coming into pigeon pose. And then for my other friends, let's go ahead and come into downward facing dog. Left leg comes up and back. Once again, we'll draw that left knee in towards the chest, setting up for our pigeon pose here. And again, if you want to remain upright on fingertips, you are welcome to do that. Otherwise, you can start to come forward, resting here in your pigeon. And just taking a moment to notice the difference between the right and the left side. I know my left side is typically my tighter side, my less dominant side. So honor that, readjust as needed. And we'll start to steady our breath on our next inhale. And exhale. And then once again, here friends, on your next inhalation, we'll start to come up. For those of you on your back, go ahead and get your counter pose by hugging both knees in towards your chest. Otherwise, let's meet in downward facing dog. And if you liked that counter pose, you can come into down dog with a twist here. Taking a moment. In just a moment here, friends, we're all gonna be on our backs here. I've got one more pose for you all before we close off our practice. So we'll go ahead and make our way there now if you're not there already. So for those of you taking pigeon pose, you're already familiar with this setup. So for those of you that took pigeon on your back, so we're gonna bend both knees, we're gonna cross the right ankle over the left thigh. We'll hug those knees in towards our chest here. And then from here, let's go ahead and set that left foot down. And then we're gonna come into a twist here. So getting a little bit of a touch for the IT band. So keeping this same setup, all I'm gonna do is draw the right foot to the outer edge of my mat here. And then you can feel that already just running alongside the IT band on the outer right thigh. And then we'll also get a gentle twist here. Nice touch for the spine, for the lower back, while also targeting our legs. And we'll just stay here, friends, just for a few rounds of breath. And then from here on your next inhale, let's go ahead and come back. We'll draw both knees in towards our chest, getting a counter pose here. You could rock side to side or maybe take some small circles in one direction with those knees. And then we'll change it up and go in the opposite direction. Last side. So right foot stays on the mat. We're going to cross over with the left ankle, bringing the arms out wide like a T. And then from here, we're going to bring that left foot over to the outer edge of the mat, getting a gentle twist, getting a touch here for the IT band. And then once again, friends, we'll start to deepen our breath on our next inhale and exhale. On your next inhalation, let's come back to center, drawing the knees in towards our chest once again. Feel free to get any counter pose that you'd like, maybe even taking happy baby if you prefer. Again, a nice little touch for the inner thighs here. So in this class, friends, I'm going to leave it up to you if you want to get a Shavasana, so final resting pose on your own, or maybe a seated meditation is the way you'd like to close off your practice. But from here, I'm going to roll onto one side, making my way back to seated, closing off my practice here with you all. So thank you guys so much for joining me in this class, and thank you to my fellow nurses out there, anyone that works in healthcare or just provides any type of service where you are just on your feet for extended periods of time. We really do love and appreciate you all and the amazing work that you do. So thank you for doing this for yourself. Thank you for filling up your own cup, and I hope you feel amazing in your body. Once again, thank you for practicing with me, and until next time, namaste.